Please join me as we light the tiny flame and lights our path this morning. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do. You'll join me now in singing our first hymn, which is number 6 in the great hymnal. It's just as long as I have breath. Today's meditation reading, if you care to follow along, is also in our gray hymnal, number 463 by Adrian Rich. My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed. I have to cast my lot with those who, age after age, perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world. Welcome, Eric. You're the Vice President of WARE, the Wayne Action for Racial Equality. We're interested in finding about the work that WARE does. Every journey has its start with some place and some people. You can help us understand the history and type of work that WARE has supported. First, please tell us how the journey of WARE started.
As stated in the Baha'i principles, prejudices of any kind are the destroyers of human happiness and welfare. And in keeping with that philosophy, the first unofficial meeting of WARE was called by the Baha'i religious group of Sodas Point on November 26, 1984. The original founders and organizers were John Joyce, Kathy Fox, Kay Embry, and the members of the Baha'is original initiative with help from the members of the Cornell Migrant Justice Program. The purpose was to create racial unity by building an independent task force whose aim would be to eliminate the barriers created by ignorance and prejudice.
What were the instigating circumstances?
The formalization of WARE as a nonprofit in 1985 was not necessarily the result of one instigating circumstance, but rather a series of circumstances. John Joyce and his wife, an interracial couple, some of the first WARE members, were experiencing discrimination while trying to find housing. Many members of the Wayne County minority community were experiencing widespread and generalized discrimination and prejudice based on structural and institutional racism. There was also concern over race relations in the U.S. as a whole, as well as with the policies of the Reagan administration. The Reagan administration's concept of trickle-down economics was not devoting enough funding to the efforts to fight poverty and address the AIDS epidemic. The establishment of the Martin Luther King Jr. Day in 1983 was honoring Dr. King symbolically, while the country as a whole was not moving towards racial equality. Some states even refused to make it part of their official holiday schedules, which holds to this day. The passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1984, requiring all institutions that receive federal financial assistance, was passed at a time when Reagan was promoting a view that welfare was being given to undeserving people. The crack cocaine epidemic was widely viewed as a minority crime wave with the establishment of minimum sentences, which resulted in incarceration rates for black men and particularly skyrocketing.
I'll review some of the actions and programs of WARE over the years, thanks to the timeline that you provided to me. It's quite an extensive list. In the 1980s, WARE was linking closely with the Wayne County Minority Arts Project, which was also known as the Wayne County Multicultural Arts Project Incorporated. They were organizing meetings of local school officials and minority parents at black churches to facilitate communication between the minority parents and the schools. In the 1990s, they were assisting minority candidates for the local school board. They were campaigning to push local hiring of youth of color with pressure on the local Stodus grocery. WARE was seeking justice from Walmart and the Newark Police Department for police brutality and erroneous assault against a local Haitian farm worker. WARE was organizing the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day events in Wayne County. In cooperation with the BOCES FLL office, they were sponsoring workshops and courses in multicultural literature, African American history, and American civil rights to enhance the public school curriculum. They were creating multicultural resource packets for educators. They established the Tim Barber Memorial Scholarship Fund for minority students attending college. They were creating the WARE Mentor Committee to support students of color to complete their high school and pursue higher education. WARE was establishing a job bank to increase hiring and track the ongoing employment of people of color in local schools and area businesses. And they were advocating for increased staff and teachers of color in the Wayne County schools. In the 2000s, they were becoming the lead advocate to investigate whether a hate crime had been committed in the murder of Bernard Allen in 2001. They were forming the Wayne County Court Watch to visit local Wayne County town courts and report on how they conduct business, with special attention to how they protect the rights of the accused. They were intercepting Ku Klux Klan memorabilia that was being auctioned off, with funding from the Buffalo Historical Society, local funding, and the cooperation of the New York State Museum in Albany. WARE was able to acquire all the items except one and donate them to the Buffalo Historical Society and the New York State Museum, thus keeping them from becoming a source of profit to private collectors. They were also assisting migrants to attend church services in SOTUS when there was active ICE agent activity in the area targeting people who were on their way to church. In the 20-teens, they were founding the Greater Rochester Coalition for Immigration Justice with other people in the Rochester area at churches and other institutions to broaden the work of WARE's migrant support services. They were attending court dates for migrants in deportation hearings. They were protesting in front of the courts in detention centers when people were turned over to ICE after minor traffic offenses. They were publicizing recent Ku Klux Klan recruitment efforts in Wayne County after the KKK pamphlets appeared in the area. As we can see, the long history of WARE, we're talking since 1984, that's a long journey. They have included cultural aspects, commercial business discrimination and employment, police and courts activism, educational institutions, students and parents, and many other aspects of community life. So currently, WARE statement of purpose reads,
WARE believes that no one is born a racist, but recognizes that the historical damage caused by racism hurts everyone in different ways. WARE understands that racism is a byproduct of misinformation, which we have all received and now need to confront. WARE endeavors to shape a future where the process of change is as important as the product, and blame and or divisiveness is replaced with direct action, community education, engagement, and advocacy. So today, there is more focus on changing the community's attitudes through educational activities. WARE works along with Rural Migrant Ministries, the Workers' Justice Center, Farm Worker Justice, and the Greater Rochester Coalition for Immigration Justice on a variety of different programs, addressing institutional racism, prejudice and discrimination in employment, and educational opportunities is ongoing work. With the recent ramping up of anti-immigrant activities by the current administration, there is a renewed effort on migrant support services offered by WARE.
what do you think are the things that have kept WARE going all these years?
Many of the early members of WARE moved to Wayne County to get involved with the social justice that WARE was doing. Many of those members are still active with WARE today. There is a solid core base of people who are committed on the cause and the work that WARE is doing. WARE also works with many community groups that share WARE's vision.
What did it mean to you to have WARE exist in Wayne County?
WARE is unique in its deep foundation that connects past and current members of WARE. WARE has created an organization that not only fights against structural and institutional racism, but also educates its members and the community on the impacts of social injustice and how racism and how we as human beings can help to create an environment that eliminates racism and social injustice from our community. This means that there is a place and an organization to turn to as a significant resource when personally faced with questions, the need for education, or assistance with dealing with discrimination in the community. WARE is the community.
What do you think will keep WARE going as the founders age and retire?
Education is the key to the continued success of WARE. Maya Angelou once wrote, "When you know better, you do better." The continued focus of WARE on education creates an awareness and social awakening that serves as an inspiration to make sure that the work continues.
What would you like to bring to our attention about racial justice work?
I think that it's important to understand that racial justice work is not just about the minority community. We are all part of the community. If one of us is suffering from the effects of racism, we all suffer. The work will be more effective if the community as a whole participates in every aspect of educating and fighting racial and social injustice.
It's interesting that the origination of WARE came from people who quietly follow a faith that most of us know nothing about. Different from many civil rights or justice movements that emanate from the Judeo-Christian culture, the Baha'i don't generally come to mind in this context. Do you think that religious faith, whatever the theology, is important to keeping justice work going year after year?
Most religious traditions, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, and others, have beliefs about helping others and seeking for justice. Whatever the faith is, it's the matter of how it's practiced, not the specific doctrine that makes the difference. People can attend all kinds of established religious groups, but not be ready and willing to help everyone with the work of justice. So it is more a matter of personal conviction and dedication that will carry on the work year after year.
What message would your work in WARE offer us?
Local communities need local support for justice work. People living side by side with the injustices are best suited to bringing out the needs and taking on the work of making life better for the entire community.
And we'll close again. I am only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do.
join us in our closing hymn, number 157, Step by Step.
I'm going to play it once and then let's sing it twice.
We distinguish the slain, but not of truth, for the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
So be it.
Well, if you stay there long enough, people will just
Join us for worship every Sunday at 10 a.m. at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Canandaigua, a welcoming congregation. We are located at 3024 Cooley Road, 4 miles west of South Main Street, Canandaigua, just north of the intersection with Routes 5 and 20. Look for the blue signs just before the turn. Your comments about this program or questions about the church are welcome at 585-396-1370 or at our website, www.canandaiguauu.org. Producer and editor, Daniel Brigham.